We made fun when we watched our last episode that when we hit it on the watch to turn it on, Kristin has this mean face where she's like, get started.
We're in the mode. Let's
now
go.
We're making fun of our starts. Okay.
Episode
17.
Congratulations. Here we are.
Esther, Calling.
Esther, laughter.
Which
is, it's sort of hard to laugh about Esther a little bit.
until you determine if she or Vashti are better in bed. I don't know. We could have a whole debate on who is better in bed to King Xerxes.
Right,
But
exactly. Right.
Um,
And
we could laugh about
We could
that
laugh about that
all
a
the time.
lot. Probably could learn a few things.
So our last one was a legend, which we had Sandy.
We had
we
Sandy.
hope that y'all appreciated Sandy and her story.
Yeah, and her challenges.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, she had some challenges that I have never had to face, actually, about calling and God maybe not giving you the calling that you thought He was calling you to, or the timing.
Right? What do you do
So,
when you
what
think
do
you're
you
called
do?
to one thing
Right.
and you're not there?
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, hopefully you enjoyed her. And
Yeah.
we have some exciting news.
You guys were so
happy.
good. You made comments, which is what we were asking for, and it was great. I mean, God is good. That two of the comments that came through, we had several, but two of them that came through this time were great questions that we want to address. And hopefully on the heels of Sandy. So hopefully you go back and listen to Sandy and see if her story helps you a little bit. But
Yeah, it was such God's timing.
it
right?
was like the question just came right at what Sandy spoke to. So Sandy's episode will probably answer it better than we can.
Probably true.
Your question was, what if your calling is to be a stay-at-home mom, but you're about to become an empty nester?
And I think that's hard. Both experiencing empty nesting, right? We're both sort of in the process of, and I've never been a stay-at-home mom. You've never been a stay-at-home mom. So I think that, addressing that,
I don't know how much wisdom we can give to that. We've not been there.
We're probably not the people to talk to what that looks like, but I know that as a working mom, when it was still the same feelings, I think, as our kids left, and I was like, wow, they took a lot of my time. Like, wow, look at this. I don't know what I'm going to do. I could exercise. Yeah. And I go to the bathroom and nobody's there.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, so I think, like, for me, it was a great time to rethink, like, what are my priorities? What are my skill sets? What am I supposed to be doing? And like readdressing calling. And so I think it's a great time to say, what are the skill sets that I had raising kids? I mean, that's management at its best. You're doing logistics, you're doing time management, you're,
Counseling,
you're right. I mean, your emotional support, you're all of those things, like you're just home base, really. So I think there's so many things that can translate to what you do now, right? And those skill sets. So I changed some things up and just sort of re-looked at my schedule and re-looked at the gaps and re-looked at like, oh wow, I have some time to do this. I think we said before, like, we wouldn't have done this podcast 4 years ago.
Right. When we had all the kids and all the stuff,
like,
we wouldn't have been able to do this.
There's no way. So it was COVID, so we might have had more time. But whatever, that's
4 years ago.
But isn't that crazy? But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think similarly, because I wasn't a stay-at-home mom, I don't have exactly the same experience as our, watcher, listener.
Right.
I almost am more empathetic to her.
Yeah.
Because I think how hard it was for me to transition, and I had work
Right.
filling a
Right.
good
That is a
portion
good
of my
point.
time. So
Right.
I mean, I still felt a guttural, is that a word?
That's a
Guttural
word. Yeah.
loss
Yeah.
when the kids left. And oh my gosh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I had a very demanding, very fulfilling job, and I still felt it.
Yeah.
So for someone who is committed to saying, hey, I sacrificed to stay at home to make that my job.
That's a good point.
Now
right.
it's even harder for them. And we've seen many organizations, I've worked with several of them, who their primary role is helping women transition from being a stay-at-home mom because you were something, whether it was a student or whatever, and then you became a mom and were a mom for this period of time, and now God's not finished with you yet. And you feel
taught
that
you so much.
Right. So that's where there's this part of your gut that's like, well, what's next? the what's next is coming from our seed that we've been talking about for so long. God has planted seeds inside of you, and they sprout at different times. And there was for you, our listener, a seed of being a stay-at-home mom that was planted, and you let it flourish for a period of time. And now it has just been chopped out from under you.
Now you cry into your pillow and you cry in the shower. No.
You have to what you said, your calling changes as your life changes. So now, as somebody who's looking at empty nest, you have to say, what's the seed?
It changes everything. It really does. The dynamics in the house change because, of course, now you're looking at your husband and you're like, do we cook together? I'm not what sure. Do we do together? And so, like, there is, there's some intentional time for, like, are we going to have a date? Right? There's some intentional time for, seriously, like, I was like, I can exercise for more than 12 seconds before somebody interrupts me.
Exercising.
Right? Good for you.
Not that it's working, but
good for you. That's good. Makes you feel good. It does. Are you drinking water?
I am.
Okay.
I'm doing at least my one a day.
Good.
So that's good. I'm not playing the piano.
But it is like, I think, like, it changes. Like, for a minute, I felt like I had some breathing room, which I then filled again because that's my nature. But I think it does. I think probably the first thing I would do when your kids leave is just take like 2 weeks and sit down and say, okay, get your Bible. What are you doing? Lord, here we go.
Retake an assessment
that
says these are my spiritual gifts,
right?
Right? Because somehow they get lost in motherhood and kids. So sit down and say, what are my spiritual gifts?
That's a good idea.
Write a list of what skills did I have? And then I think there's a little excitement too. I mean, after you get past they're gone and I'm sad and you walk in an empty house, there was that moment. Then there came there's a seed. What is the seed and what am I going to do with it? And I would say lean into that. Lean into
for sure.
I'm not done yet. There's another calling on my life, and now I get to have some time to figure that out before the kids come back.
Time which you haven't had, right? So. Time which you haven't had for potentially 25 years, right? Yeah. I mean, and I think that's it is worth taking a little bit of time to sort of just listen to the Lord and see because. The skill sets you learn being a mom are beyond, right? It's everything.
Try them out.
Yeah.
I tried bird watching. I tell that story all the time. When Cannon left last year, I went and bought bird seed and bird feeders, and I thought, I'm going to sit and reflect and watch birds.
That went well.
Didn't go well.
Yeah. No.
So try it, right?
I wouldn't have known when you said it.
I didn't know. I tried.
We could laugh.
I still have the bag of bird seed that I didn't use the whole bag on my porch. Like I'm somehow going to go back.
That's what they do with kindergartners.
I think
you
try it. Yeah, peanut butter. I thought I was going to bring the right birds and all this stuff. But
whatever.
Tried cooking. I think that's the thing, is try it and get excited about, instead of sitting in, oh my gosh, my kids are gone. I'm so sad. What am I going to...
Well, it's not a defining moment.
No.
And I think that's what you have to come to grips with. It's not a defining moment. And there's freedom in the choices of, am I going to garden? Am I going, what am I going to do? Like, maybe I could try something new that I haven't done. So
and
anyway.
You're not the first to go through that.
No, exactly.
I mean, I think that is where you have to land, is every woman before you, every mother before you has gone through it. So you're not the first. Find some people, walk with them. So great question. Thank
you.
They
come back.
They do. And then you don't want to be like, oh, I got kind of used to being gone.
They come with their dogs.
And they cats stay. And girlfriends, and you're like, oh. So anyways. Okay, great question. Thank you. The next one, another great question. When should you pull back and let your kid fall?
Yeah.
When
I think
do you
as
pull
a
back?
parent, that is probably the hardest thing to do, and it was definitely hard for Rodney and I to parent together because I'm much more the disciplinarian, right? I'm much more like there's consequences to your actions. I'm much more, a scraped knee's not going to hurt you kind of thing, and Rodney is from very little. Be careful, be careful, be careful, right? I don't want them to feel, sad because they don't have the same shoes as somebody else at school. I don't want them to feel like they're less than, or, so he was like, the kids shouldn't have to share TVs. So we should I'm like, we're not buying 4 TVs. Like, so that they don't have to share.
Right. So they don't.
Right? What? Like, right? I mean, so there were a lot, like that was very difficult for us to parent through together. So I think, first of all, the hardest part is you can't have one parent that's rescuing and the other parent that's not. Like, you sort of have to be consistent with it. But we talked about this a minute ago, but as we were getting ready, but like, I had like this box image, and I said to the kids, when you're 2, the box is this big, and when you're 4, it's this big, and it gets bigger and bigger. And within those boundaries, I did let my kids fail, right? One of my kids got a speeding ticket in a 30. No, it was supposed to be 25, and she was doing 62. And the police officer called me and said, I've got your daughter here. I'm like, and why are you calling me, right? And he's like, well, most people try to talk me out of giving her a ticket. And I'm like, what? Take her downtown, book her, and I'll be there in a couple hours to get her, right? Like, and he was like, what? But I mean, I think that, like, seriously, you could kill someone, right? And so, like, I just that was sort of how we managed. And we talked about like the drinking thing and kids drinking. And I was like, you call me, because if I ever find out that you've been drinking and you drove, you will never drive a car again on my watch, right? And so, I think they have to then make those choices, because then they can't make them when they're adults, if you coddle them through every little thing. But I'm not suggesting that you watch them. Like, I've never had a kid addicted to drugs, right? Like, I don't know, like that. Those aren't my things, right? My things are much more, were they drinking and driving? Right. Like they were typical teenage young person things. And I think you can be a safety net, but you can't always be the Band-Aid.
It's tough. I mean,
it's very tough.
Kids will either, similar to you say, drive a marriage apart, or drive a marriage together. And it will put you on your knees to inquire of the Lord more than anything else. I mean, I have spent more hours on my knees over my kids. And when do you just say, you gotta learn?
It's all yours.
And when do you step in and save them? Especially as they get older, right? I mean, we can look at when they're young, it's, when you take the training wheels off the bike, and yes, they might fall and skin their knee, but we're not talking life and death.
Right.
And it's crazy to me how when they're younger, we're so stressed out over,
nothing.
Did they poop?
Right.
Did they sleep right?
Right.
Did I eat the right organic food? And the amount of time I obsessed over that as a mom when they were little. And I look back now and I think, oh my gosh, I would give anything to just obsess over if they pooped enough times during a day.
Right.
Now we're obsessing over, are they going to drive and kill somebody? Or, become an addict and live on the streets?
Right.
And
are they going to, like, finish a college class?
I mean,
right? I mean, they're going to graduate.
So much harder.
Those are, and they're making even big decisions like their salvation, right? Like, you cannot make that happen for them.
No.
Like, there's so many things that I think, being a safety net is okay, but I tell you, it's very, very difficult to decide when they fail and when they.
I don't know if there's ever you do it now or you don't do it now, or you do it in this situation always and not. Obviously, it depends on the kid, on the personality, on the circumstances, on the age, on their faith, everything plays into that, which is where you have to be so in tune with the Lord, because even the way you handle your own kids, like we had one kid go through this and I handled it one way. We have another kid going through it and I'm handling it different because their personalities are different, the circumstances are different. So that all
you're
depends.
Smarter.
Yeah.
I mean, but I agree with your point. Like, if you as parents are not on the same page, it's one thing when they're 2, you can be different. But I tell you what, when they get to 17, 18, 30, right, if you're not on the same page, you just get manipulated.
And we have found that certain kids respond better to me and certain respond better to Sean. So over the years, we've learned.
Yeah, that's
like,
good.
All right, Sean, you're going to have this conversation with this kid about this because I can't. They just don't respond to me that way. Doesn't mean they don't love me, but you just take it different from me or take it different from him.
For sure.
So that's been part of it.
Yeah, especially when you get like testosterone. That's a thing.
It's a thing. Like,
for sure.
I remember when Creed told me, Mom, when you talk to me, it sounds like nails on a chalkboard. And I mean, I asked him for it. We were having a great conversation. We just read the book, The Mother and Son, The Respect Factor. And I mean, it was all about me and my boys at this point and how I'm going to transition them to men. And I asked for it. And when he said that, I was like,
okay, we're done here.
What? And he's like, when you speak to me, it sounds like nails on a chalkboard. Wow. And that's when I realized, like, he's not hearing me the same way that when Sean walks in the room and says no, he hears it different than when I walk in the room and say no.
That's good. Good for him.
It was tough.
I mean, that's not.
I mean, and I asked. I was like, give me it.
No, for sure. That's great of you, but it's also great of him to come back with that.
Tough to hear.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I think our culture, and we're getting way off on this. We didn't do the whole 30 minutes on this, but culturally, I think we have to take a step back and look, again, if we drive everything back to God's word. I don't think parents struggled with this as much when the Israelites were in the wilderness, because by 12, they were full working, out in the yard, lugging
men
all
were
the
men.
stuff. It was what it was.
Yeah.
Culturally, we have definitely coddled our kids. And even
boys and girls.
Accessibility to parents now. It used to be when you were 12, you were married off, there was a dowry, the woman goes, you never see her again. When Abraham left his family, they weren't FaceTiming. You weren't sending snail mail even. You never saw them again.
That's true.
So there was I will raise you for 12 years the best that I can, and then you're out. So this dilemma of parenting adult kids is relatively new. And I think that's why we struggle with it, because at the end of the day, we're not supposed to be parenting 21-year-olds. Like the way God designed it was like, get out and do, and we're still, I got your phone bill, I'm still paying, I'm paying for the car insurance, and when in doubt, you can always come home, and you know, and so in providing a safety net, which is what we've done culturally, and it's changed with college, and I mean, I'm not saying we're wrong,
for sure.
But if we took a little bit of the way it was in the Bible, I think we'd have a little bit more of a hands-off approach quicker with our kids. Therefore, they would be failing and learning quicker.
Well, and it starts when they're 2.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, going way back is we start coddling them. They can't do their kindergarten homework without the oversight. So then of course that's what you're going to get when you've got 23. Right? I mean, so I do think it's a societal thing that you have to be really careful of. I mean, you have to be really careful of.
Just let your kids fail at birth, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Just let them roll around.
Let them have a mess.
Probably. I have my brother-in-law says, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." And you know, by the time I got to the 5th one, I was like, whatever.
Yeah, it's so
and
true.
he's like probably the only one that doesn't need counseling.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so true. We get better as we go too, for sure. We ruin the first few. So I don't know if we've helped you at all with either of those questions, but thank you for asking them.
Yeah,
I think they were great.
That.
It was fun to talk through.
It was fun to have questions.
Yeah. So, all right.
It's very interactive.
It is. Yeah. I loved questions. It was so fun when I got them. So
we were like, yay.
And we are learning. We met with someone today to help with the podcast.
Yes.
So thank you to Jennifer. She's been amazing.
Yeah, we'll give her a shout out.
Yeah,
one of
we're,
these days.
We're getting better.
Legend.
She'll be one of our legends. So we have a lot in the works.
We have a logo we're working on.
Working on a logo, working on a website.
We have Instagram that we're trying to get better at. We're going to be on Spotify and
Apple.
All of the places where you, what did they say? And all the places where you find your podcast.
Yes.
Right?
We'll be there.
There's a line like that.
We're coming. Hang in there with us.
Yeah. So we've got some plans.
And we're going to do a couple more weeks. We've decided, if you've been following us at all, we did talk about episodes. And so we are going to end season 1 coming up in a couple weeks. We're going to take a week off, and we actually are going on a little retreat. We are going to reboot with hopefully coming back with the logo, with the website, with a little jingle,
with our taglines,
with our stuff,
all of our colors.
Yeah,
we're gonna
color palettes now.
Yeah, exactly. We're like Alyssa. We have to thank Alyssa.
Yeah, thank Alyssa, who's working, and Mike. I mean, we've had a team of people kind of come around
holding
us and
us
just help us, which has been really great. Which has been great.
Yeah.
So.
And I think a lot of really nice feedback, which I think that's what keeps us going. So we very much appreciate that somebody listened and had a question, or that they, people said thanks.
Disagreed.
That was
we had
great.
people that disagreed, which I thought was
meetings.
great. I've had a couple people say, I disagree. And I'm like, let's go.
And we've been invited to a couple Bible studies.
Yes.
So we are going to see what that looks like. So we're going to retreat and see what we got.
Coming.
So anyway, all right, let's
Esther,
wrap up
Calling.
Esther's laughable.
Yes.
I don't know.
Not.
Yeah, we tried to decide what we're going to laugh about with Esther. Okay, are you going to do this timeline thing?
So,
I don't know if you listen to Bill Creasy.
And I put Bill Creasy's link to his Audible in the comments of the last time we uploaded. So if you listen to it, that's great. And I'm literally just going to kind of repeat what he said because he said it amazing.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard it. So I mean,
it's so good.
All my life walking with the Lord, going through seminary, I'd never heard it this way. So I'm going to just kind of walk through what he said in case you didn't listen to him.
And I'm going to laugh in between.
You're going to
laugh.
It's
really funny.
I don't know. No, I'll make this one funny. He talked about the linear scripture narrative that takes you up through Esther. And that's why we're doing this now because it ends at Esther, which I think is what's cool.
But the linear narrative is like you can sort of track the time and in order of the books of the Bible. That's what you mean by that.
And why the books of the Bible? Why the books of the Bible are really ordered the way that they're ordered because they're not chronological.
Right.
So if you ever go through the Bible chronologically, it's all adjusted. Yeah. So why did we put them in the order that we put them? This was kind of
explains
why.
it.
So I talk fast anyways, but to get through this before 5 hours, I'm going to just ramble through my notes. So Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created. That was day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then he rested on the 7th. Then it's a recapitulation, which he kept using that word, and I'm like, that's a big word, which basically just means it kind of flips, it turns around.
Goes back.
And so in Genesis 2, we go back now to day 6, where we observe creation of humanity from the garden's perspective, and at the end of chapter 2, everything's perfect, all creation's good. Then we go to Genesis 3.
We're on page 2.
Right. There you go. Flip your page.
2.
Genesis 3 is sin and conflict.
It's not going to take her this long to get
then you do start skipping. We don't go every chapter. Genesis 3 is sin and conflict.
I'd be like, stop.
Sorry, we're going chapter by verse next time. So, Genesis 4 to 11. See, we jumped there. Genesis 4 to 11 is consequences of sin. So sin enters in 3, 4 to 11 are the consequences of sin. Genesis 12, enter the plan of salvation. So that quickly in the first 12 chapters, it's all is good, sin enters.
All is bad.
All is bad. I got to send a savior to fix it. So we're at Genesis 12. And Genesis, when the brothers are down in Egypt and the story of Joseph. Then we have the Exodus. So the next book of the Bible is Exodus. We have 400 years go by.
We had a flood in there.
Yeah. See, they skipped all that even. Just there
was a flood.
Was a flood. Killed everybody.
And rainbows.
But they slept with their kids. I mean, there's a whole thing. There's the
don't read your Bible.
Naphtali's, the giants that slept with the angels. I mean, there's a whole
It's pretty much rated R.
I know. 73 people went down to Egypt. And 400 years later, there's 2 million of them. So that 400-year period, they were just cranking out babies. But now they're slaves. God raises up Moses, and he leads them out of Egypt. You guys have all seen the movie. You know what happens. He's at Mount Sinai, and God says, listen, you guys suck, so I'm just going to give you some laws to abide by. He gives them the 10 Commandments. We enter Leviticus. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. Leviticus is a 30-day period on how to implement the law and use the tabernacle. So now it's like all the rules, how to do all the rules.
Great reading.
Super
law
engaging.
By law. Right.
When in doubt, go read Leviticus. You'll fall asleep at night. That's the way to do it. Then we go to the book of Numbers, which is the remaining 39 years in the wilderness. So Leviticus is like the first part of their wilderness journey, and then Numbers is the rest. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Deuteronomy is the retelling, so it's a recapitulation kind of the story, but to a new generation. So everybody dies. We have a new generation that comes in. Deuteronomy is the retelling of the story.
In the Promised Land.
In the Promised Land. Moses dies. Joshua takes over. The next book of the Bible is Joshua. And Joshua actually takes the Israelites into the Promised Land. The next book is the Judges. They settle the land, but the people reject God. The people had no king. They didn't really see God as their king. And so they started complaining that they wanted a king. So We get to Ruth is the next book of the Bible. And this is
I love
another
Ruth.
recapitulation. We turn around and look back again because it happens during the day of Judges. And it's a great love story between Ruth and Naomi and Ruth and Boaz.
You had a joke about that.
I did have a Ruth joke. I forget it now. Did I say it in this?
What was Boaz before he met Ruth? And he was ruthless.
Here's something. Something like that.
I'm not
good.
good 3 times.
No, that was good.
He was ruthless.
Okay, so begat Obed Jesse, Jesse begat David. So from Ruth and Boaz becomes David. We go to 1 Samuel. Now we're back to the same story. Ruth just kind of turned back and told a story. Now we're back in the line. First king was King Saul. They wanted a king, they got Saul. Second king was King David. That happens in the book of 1 Samuel.
You can watch House of David.
House of David.
House of David will whip you right through that.
That'll get you right through it. You'll fall in love with all the characters. We hit 2 Samuel, and it's the actual story of David, so we see all of that. Then we get to the book of 1 Kings, and in 1 Kings we have Solomon, the king, which is David's son. We have a civil war happening in Israel at this point, and then we split. This is where the kingdom split. You've heard us talk about this before. Southern kingdom, northern kingdom. Rehoboam is the southern king. Jeroboam is the northern king of Israel. There's 39 kings of Israel and Judah. That all happens in the book of 1 Kings. I'm getting there. We're so close. 2 Kings, end of Kings. 586 BC is the fall of Jerusalem to Babylonian. 1st and 2nd Chronicles is the retelling of the story of the king. So again, it's just
tons of
but from a
duplication.
different perspective. So you're really kind of getting the same thing in 1st and 2nd Chronicles. So Kings gives you the perspective of all that time from the kings. Chronicle gives you the perspective from the men living at that time, the humans, men and women. Okay, Ezra and Nehemiah then tell the story of those who come back from the captivity. So kingdom divided, people go off and get captured. They're now captives in other lands. Ezra and Nehemiah, they're coming back, and we arrive at Esther.
We're rebuilding the wall.
They're rebuilding the wall.
Yeah.
Zerubbabel rebuilt the rubble.
And
that's how I remember.
And Nehemiah, why should I come down?
Yeah, I'm doing a good thing. Ezra and Nehemiah tell the story of those who come back from the Babylonian captivity and rebuild the city. And I think we may have talked about this before. Only 10%
we did.
came back. That blows my mind.
I know. I was so surprised by that when you think about that.
Yeah.
When you think about
I mean, they fought so hard not to go into captivity. Then when they finally get released from it, only 10% go back.
Doesn't it tell you it's exactly like us? Culture takes over and you're like, oh, well, it's easier to stay than it is to go. Yeah.
That shocked me. I would have lost on a game show.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So Ezra and Nehemiah, we get to Esther, which is where we're talking. Esther tells the story of the people who stayed behind. So 10% go back. 90% stay in captivity, basically. And that's where Esther happens. That's the story. So we see this beautiful picture from creation to Esther. And the linear narrative, that line of life that happened stops at Esther.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I love that.
That's crazy. So the linear narrative stops after Esther. The narrative up to Esther basically says, so if you're going to look at an overarching, what did from Genesis to Esther teach us? The narrative was, if you do what God says, all will go well. If you don't, it won't. They made it seem so easy. Do what God says, things go good.
Right.
Don't do what God says.
They did more what doesn't
things
go
go
well.
bad. Right.
When
And
you
it didn't
read
go
it,
well.
Don't you sometimes be like, I would never be that stupid?
Yes.
It happens to me all the time. I'm like, they are so stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that would be me.
I know.
So anyway.
It's the same way that we get to the New Testament. I think, how could you not see that that's Jesus?
I know. That is true.
He just healed a dead man and he caused a blind man to see. How can you not?
Like Nicodemus, you've got to be
Come
kidding. You
on.
sat across the table from me.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Y'all suck. Jeez, if you came now, we'd be right
we
there.
would know.
We'd so be
There's
your
probably
follower.
Johnny out there. We don't need to talk about Johnny. Sorry. Totally inappropriate. Sorry.
Johnny is Jesus. I'm so screwed.
Tammie had someone tell her that she was a judgmental something or other an hour ago. So we were setting up. So anyway, here we are.
I had a couple today, Johnny. Okay, so all the way through Esther, we're good. Ends the lineage, and then Job comes. Right after Esther is the book of Job.
Which, like you said, is do what God asks, things go well.
That's the narrative up to Esther.
Up to Esther.
Then you hit Job.
Then you hit Job.
And Job basically is put in there to say, even if you do what God says, things may not go well. And
which
it's
is
like
what makes it funny.
a slap in the face to the first whole part of the book, which is...
This is our laughter.
Do what God says, things are going to go well. Don't do what he says, things are going to go bad. And then there's Job.
Right.
Oh, man. Which, Cup of Job, here's where we are. It's our entire coffee shop is called Cup of Job, which is the story that we're in. So, Job, the next book, shows that sometimes, even if you do what God wants, your life can still be a train wreck, which was what Job's. Job calls into the question the entire linear narrative up to that point, and Job is actually set way back in time before Abraham. So it comes in our line in the Bible, it comes at the end of all of it, but the reality is that happened in the middle. So then it goes through Psalms, written mostly by David, which is our next series on Psalms. So you'll learn about Psalms. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, which are all written by Solomon. Major prophets come, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel. They take place during the Kings. Minor prophets take place during the Kings and with Malachi.
And you do get some duplication there.
Yes,
like
you're going back. Those are the Kings during that time. Right. So all those end books actually happen back in that first time somewhere. It's just
and you feel like, I've read this before.
Yeah, and you have.
Yeah, and you have.
For sure. Job through Malachi is a recapitulation. So that's where we go back. So that entire, after Esther, everything that happens in your Old Testament from Esther is a
recapitulation to...
Recapitulation.
It could be a song.
A recapitulation.
Oh my.
Anyways. Jewish Bible's identical books and words, but in a different order, which I think is interesting. So our Bible is that. But
not a Catholic Bible.
Not a Catholic Bible. And that we're going to talk about that in a minute, and we talked about this, but if you are reading any of the books of the Bible that we talk about and you're reading it from a Catholic Bible or a Syrian Bible, which I don't have a Syrian Bible, so I don't know, they're going to sound a little different from us. And in Esther, the Catholic Bible has God in it, which our Esther, we talked about, doesn't. And they explained that it was because when the Catholics were wanting to decide which books to keep in, they felt that there was so much value in Esther, but they didn't feel confident just putting a book of the Bible in there that didn't really talk about God. And so they added some prayers because they weren't so that God would be referenced in there. So if you're reading Esther and you hear people say God's not mentioned in it and it is in your Bible, that's why, because there was some additional prayers in there. But that's so fun. You do the butt.
No,
you do the butt.
No,
You're doing the butt.
Fine.
Oh, sorry. No, you do the butt. The butt is good.
No. I'm just here to cue you up.
Thanks.
Today.
Esther's written in Hebrew.
Tammy did all the work today.
Tammy
did all the work.
Additions are made to Esther. Okay, we're talking about.
I happen to be listening to Bill Creasy on the golf course, so I can take notes.
Complete additions. Okay,
yeah.
We talked about in that. Okay, additions. Dead Sea Scrolls. I won't go into all that. God is. Oh, okay. So here's where we get to the fun. But from Esther, chapters 1 to 10, God is standing in the shadow. And that was Bill Creasy's words, which I hadn't necessarily heard. So these are the people that stayed behind, the 90%. God appears in the shadow.
I loved that
Esther.
His fingerprints are everywhere.
Yes.
That was a good one.
And to the 90% that chose to stay back.
Yeah.
So even if, like we're saying, how did you not go back to where God called you?
Still there.
God was still there in the shadow. So to us, even if we're not exactly where we think God called us to go, or we've turned away from the Lord, or we've gotten out of the Lord's will, or we're not in a great place with the Lord, He's still there. He's still there. That's what's so beautiful
so
about
much
it.
from my life. That was part of what came out of me, I think, in this study is even when I wasn't paying attention. Not that I didn't believe God was there, but when I wasn't paying attention, God was in the shadows. His fingerprints, if I look back, his fingerprints are on it.
All over. Crazy.
All over it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
So verse 4, so we're in the middle of Esther, and the verse 4 is this turning point in the story. So all this has happened, and then there is just this what's it called in a book when it's the climax,
Climax.
right?
Yep. No. Not
Back to back.
Don't even go there.
That's why I hesitated on the word. I was like, my mind goes a different place when we're talking about that.
We
Sorry.
should do these in the morning.
Anyways, there is a climax in the story. And it's the turning point that basically says, if it pleases the king, Esther is saying this to the king, if it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come to a banquet. Basically, she says, hey, come to this banquet. And those words, in quote, let the king together with Haman come. That's the way it said it in the original. Let the king together with Haman come. In Hebrew, this is so fun. If you read that backwards, which who reads, Hebrew
is backwards,
right?
Everybody
So
reads
Hebrew
backwards,
is
but who
backwards.
reads
So
Hebrew?
when you read the Hebrew, and this is read backwards the way that they do in Hebrew, those 4 words that make up that phrase. So that phrase is 4 words in the Hebrew when you read it backwards. And each of those words begin with the letters YHWH, which is translated Yahweh. Come on.
Fingerprints.
That is so cool.
I love that.
So to say that God's not in this book, you can't say that.
And just like we do.
Yeah.
Right? You look back and you think, wow, God, God creates everything for our good, right? I mean, and you realize that his fingerprints are everywhere.
He just whispered in this phrase, let the king together with Haman come. That says Yahweh. Meaning that was right when Esther took the step of faith. Like she had just said to Mordecai, if I go ask him, he's going to kill me.
I'm in trouble.
And it's this moment of like, either I'm all in for Jesus or I'm not. And she says, okay, let the king and Haman come. She finally submits to.
It took her twice.
Right.
It took her twice to actually.
Yeah, you're right.
To
get it out.
Get it out. Like he came once and then she's like, okay, come back. We're gonna go back again. I didn't have the nerve for it.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
And that's where he
Yahweh's
whispers.
Everywhere.
Yahweh. Oh, that is beautiful.
It is. It is. Only God.
And that is laughable in the sense of, because today's our laughter word and we're like, how are we going to laugh at Esther? But I think it's laughable in the sense that just how cool is God?
Sometimes I just think God is up there just chuckling.
Yes.
Like we might not be laughing, but he's laughing and I cannot believe she's worried about that.
Yeah.
I cannot believe she thought that I couldn't handle that. Or, just in the chuckling, he's up there going, watch this, watch what I can do. We go back to our about God, right? I mean, I just think, I don't really think that's what's happening, but it does make me laugh when I think, oh, you knew what was happening, and I am so dumb to have wasted time worried about it, or anxious about it, or thinking I was going to solve it, or taking the reins back from you because I thought I could do it better. Ugh. Yeah, Yahweh.
Just when Esther was there finally saying, okay, he whispered.
We need to put that in our tags.
Yahweh.
Yeah.
That's so fun. I love
great.
that. I love that I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's another good tattoo, actually.
It is.
Yahweh.
And sometimes God whispers, and sometimes he yells.
Yeah.
Right? There have been storms.
For sure.
He's in the cloud of fire. I mean, there are moments, but then sometimes it's just 4 words.
Yep.
Backwards.
And it's a puzzle. Yeah. You sort of have to figure it out too. So.
I love it.
Well, I love that, my verse this year happens to be, what if you were made for such a time as this, right? Which is, my word is brave, and she was very brave. So, so I was thinking, if I was gone today, what would be the mark on my life? We know what Esther's mark is, right? And we know God was there. What would you say is the mark on your life? It's a hard question I ask myself.
It's a hard question.
Yeah. You don't have to answer it.
Yeah, I hope it would be that
Johnny?
that I am a whatever.
Sorry.
It's such a moment today. I would hope that everybody it's the same that everybody would want. I would hope somebody would look back on my life and say she loved Jesus and she loved life and she was a good wife and a good mom and a good employee and,
Yeah. And I guess that's I wrote down probably my family and my kids, hopefully, I did what I could to pour everything that I possibly could into them, and they will carry that mark forward, right? My people, so to speak. Hopefully the same is true at my job, like that people would carry forward my thought process, my legacy, right? So,
but it has to be.
But it's like, is it
for Christ,
right? For sure,
right?
For sure.
Because if we just raise our kids and they're good kids,
no,
and they don't do
I don't
anything,
mean, yeah.
So it has to be that people see Christ in us, and that we point them to Him in the way that we work,
right?
In
the way we raise our kids, right? The way we have the marriage,
Johnny,
right? The way we deal with
Johnny. I did not point people to Jesus today with Johnny at all. So,
when you think about, like, it's sort of like what your tombstone's going to say, right? It's sort of like, what is that mark? And yes, hopefully our primary calling is, we sat here and shared the gospel and people recognize Jesus in us. So, and then your secondary, smile, they're taking a picture out there.
Yeah. It's not going to be on Instagram.
But I think there's a primary mark on your life and there's a secondary mark on your life. And so, anyway.
So maybe that's the tombstone.
Yeah.
Primary. She loved Jesus.
Maybe we'll just put a QR code.
Just tell our story.
Scan this
podcast on the QR code. This is what they hope to be.
This is what they hope to be.
That's our QR code. It's got a dinosaur in the middle.
With a dinosaur. We gotta figure out. We're trying to figure out QR. So
Esther.
Okay. So
I hope we did it justice.
Yes, I hope we did too.
I learned a ton of.
I know.
I would have said I thought I knew Esther.
Yeah.
But
credit
to Bill Creasy. Go back and listen to the Bill Creasy. It was fabulous.
He's very good.
It was great.
He just does. I think he does the historical part well. He does like the Bible as a story well. He does the Bible as truth well. It's great. He covers it all.
Yeah. Anything you hear us say, it's really this time was from him.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
really great.
For sure.
So we finished calling.
So
now we're moving into
Psalms. Yes. And so for next time, we have to pick a favorite psalm and talk about it a little bit with our life. But there's so many. So
it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be. It was very hard. I mean, I think it's going to be very hard to pick a psalm.
And this will be the first time it isn't a person. Like we've studied Lydia, we've studied the Shunammite woman, we've studied Esther, and they kind of came with a management and calling.
Yes.
But this is just Psalms. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So tune in next week.
We'll see how it goes.
And we'll start Psalms.
Okay. I like it.
All right.
Congratulations. Cheers.